This is by far the most comprehensive collection of fearless animals you will find anywhere on YouTube. My 8 best videos with 8 themed segments featuring more than 50 fearless creatures that do not give a single shit. From mustelids to apes, fish to birds, pretty much every animal that refuses to back down no matter what. You can find timestamps for each segment in the description. Enjoy. Some animals survive by hiding or outsmarting their opponents. Like Frank the boar over here. Although he's not really doing a great job and is about to get a crash course in how the food chain actually works. But these 5, they survive by not giving a single goddamn shit about anyone or anything. They simply act and hope for the best. Today, we're looking at the most batshit crazy creatures that Mother Earth has to offer. Anyways, we'll start this list off with the mongoose, which is known for a lot more than vanquishing, flipping conscious noodles. When you think about the mongoose, you might just think about its Indian subspecies, best known for toying with insanely deadly cobras, using its ultra-quick reflexes, rivaling that of cats even, which is necessary as they aren't really immune to their venom, just very resistant. But there are actually over 30 species of mongoose, spread across Africa, Southern Asia, and parts of the Middle East. And almost all of them have that same unhinged attitude. Now, the point I want to make here is that in Africa, these demons single-handedly go up against giant lions, showing bravery that is reminiscent of the honey badgers. Keep in mind that these lions are more than 95 times as large. They are truly underrated creatures when we talk about animals that are fearless. But that's nothing but a warm-up compared to this next unholy creature, namely the chaos-fueled American badger. I can barely put into words how much of a menace this animal is. It's pretty much just an American honey badger. This thing is built like a tank. They are truly fearless. They easily scare off cougars and even straight up steal food from giant bears. Even the bear seems to be confused about its place in the food chain here. I even found a clip from a really old documentary where we see one single American badger fending off not just one, but 2 wolverines at the same time, and they even eventually had to give up, as it showed far too much crackhead energy for them to handle. Just like the honey badger, it throws hands with pretty much anything that looks at it funny, and thanks to their loose skin, even if a predator grabs them, they can twist around and keep fighting, again, just like the honey badger. But other than its crackhead energy, they also enjoy digging holes, which is what most of their time is spent doing. Its massive claws aren't just for show. They can dig through compact soil with terrifying speed. Even ground squirrels stand little chance against these in a straight-up digging contest. Now, the next creature on my list is basically a small bear with zero regard for anything breathing. The wolverine. Native to the coldest, harshest regions of the Northern Hemisphere, this unholy creature is built for survival in absolute purgatory. It has a bite force strong enough to crack frozen bones and thick fur that laughs at blizzards. Despite being the size of a cocker spaniel, wolverines regularly steal kills from larger predators, drive off black bears, and have even been seen standing their ground against packs of wolves. Their muscles are dense, their endurance is insane, and they'll cross entire mountain ranges just to find something to fight, kill, or devour. But it gets darker. In some Inuit stories, there are tales of wolverines harassing or even killing polar bears. Yes, actual polar bears. There's no real proof, no videos, no pictures, but just the fact that Arctic people who've lived alongside both animals for centuries still talk about it must mean there's some truth to it. And honestly, after watching what this beast does to everything else, I kinda believe them. Their Latin name, gulo gulo, literally means glutton, and they've earned it. They pretty much eat everything they come across, including teeth. This isn't your everyday animal. It's basically a demonic cold-weather berserker. Second to last, I've included a rather odd one out. The capybara. While the others are built for violence and absolute terror, the happy cappy is simply just a chill guy. This is the animal kingdom's most unbothered uncle. But just like the rest, they too seem to not give a single shit about anything. They even seem to ignore all their survival instincts on purpose. They've been seen more than once, chilling with hundreds of crocs. Even jaguars are of no concern to these chill, oversized rodents. I have yet to find a creature they don't vibe with. The closest I've come is this image of one trying to befriend a giraffe, but I'm not even sure the giraffe acknowledged its presence. Anyways, it's like they're actively trying to get eaten just to spice up their rather boring but chill life. And this reputation has basically made capybaras a living meme for the pinnacle of being chill. Pretty much the poster child for good vibes. But here's the thing. That chill image, it's a little overstated. You see, capybaras aren't really these fearless Zen masters. They're just insanely social, and they rely heavily on numbers to stay alive. A capybara alone is a capybara in trouble. They survive by sticking together, staying constantly alert, and diving straight into water at the first sign of danger. But being a capybara in a capybara flock is actually kinda rough. They're surprisingly violent, and fights break out constantly, sometimes even leading to certain individuals being banished from the herd. And it's namely these lone, sad cappies out on the lookout for a new friend group that sometimes get confused and try to befriend all sorts of creatures, even predators. And yes, predators do in fact eat them, but that part rarely comes up. It's almost like some higher-ups in the government for some reason need people to believe they're these peaceful, magical creatures with the power to befriend pretty much anything. So no, they aren't just these chill, unbothered idiots. They're slaves to their own social instincts, and they're just really good at looking unbothered while always being 1 second away from noping into the river at the first sign of danger. If you're still here watching the video, then you're in for a treat, because obviously I saved the best for last. Namely, the bull-biting menace that is the honey badger. This animal literally doesn't fear anything, and I mean anything. It's been recorded chasing off lions, hyenas, leopards. Pretty much no one wants that smoke, and for good reason. Its skin is unbelievably thick and rubbery, making it almost impossible for teeth or claws to get a clean grip. Even porcupine quills and venomous snake bites usually don't slow it down at all. If bitten by a goddamn black mamba, it might collapse briefly, but it will eventually wake up again with an ungodly hangover. Honey badgers also have one of the most brutal attack strategies in the animal kingdom. Not only do they go for all the normal weak points like the throat, face, and eyes, but what makes them truly terrifying for most predators is the fact that they often go straight for the family jewels. And there are actually documented cases of this happening from park rangers and locals. They're technically part of the weasel family, which already includes some of the boldest small carnivores on Earth. But the honey badger takes that to a different level. Its jaws can crush through turtle shells. Its claws can rip open a termite mound like paper. And it doesn't care if it gets stung, bitten, or ganged up on. It'll fight until someone gets their life subscription unsubscribed, and it usually isn't the badger. These animals have been observed taking on enemies several times their size and winning. Not because they're stronger, but because they just don't stop. They truly embody that infamous crackhead energy. And when they're not actively fighting the entire animal kingdom, they're breaking into beehives, tanking hundreds of stings to the face just to tear out the larvae and honey inside. Their reputation on the savannah is so infamous that cheetah cubs have literally evolved to look more like them, as it reduces the chance of predators messing with them. Which is just crazy to think about. Imagine having such a reputation that others evolve accordingly. That is pure aura. Now, the 5 absolute demons we have just gone over are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to fearless creatures. So here I've got 5 more animals that give absolutely zero shit about anything or anyone. First up is this cute little fella known as the stoat. Now, the stoat is definitely one of those creatures where looks can be absurdly deceiving. This tiny psychopath doesn't just hunt, it pretty much executes. Unlike that scene with Thor and the purple ballsack guy, it goes straight for the skull or the back of the neck, with a crushing bite every single time. But this is something we could say about a lot of predators. What sets this creature apart, and actually earns it a place in this video, is the fact that it's not just good at killing, it's literally obsessed. Stoats have been seen taking way more names than they need to, literally doing it just for the thrill of the hunt. But their most insane feat to date, the time they went to war with goddamn New Zealand. You see, sometime in the late 19th century, stoats were actually introduced to the New Zealand mainland to control rabbit populations. However, as in most cases where humans try to intervene, it does not go very well. These stoats quickly became a massive problem themselves, spawning like crazy, while also killing millions of birds in the process. And in 2022, one single stoat somehow made it onto a predator-free island over 1.5 miles away, which means it had to swim there all by itself. And this incident triggered a literal national emergency, as this one lone stoat threatened rare birds like the kakapo, a species found only there. The government launched an 8-month, $300,000 operation. Helicopters, thermal imaging, traps, dogs, all for this one little furry psychopath. After months, they eventually got it, and its reign of terror was over. The next creature on our list is from the land of baguettes and wretched Vikings, namely the European badger. If you've enjoyed the video so far, then please do honor the algorithm gods by absolutely smashing that like button, and maybe subscribe if you haven't already. This creature is basically a slightly more distinguished and classy version of its slightly drunk, permanently grumpy cousin, the honey badger. But these guys are hecking aggressive fellas. Unlike most members of the mustelid family, they actually live in large groups of up to 15 members, and they love to recreationally fight each other. They're also known to tank head-on collisions with blasted cars and walk away like nothing happened. Anyway, when they're not goofing around, they're well known for their lack of fear toward humans. They literally don't give a shit who you are. If they find you annoying, they'll follow you home in broad daylight and mess up your heckin' trash can. They aren't really considered dangerous though, since they rarely follow through with their life-cancelling plans. They can also be easily spooked, like these ones getting absolutely humbled by this abominable goat. But don't get it twisted. These guys will go full feral mode if cornered, so do not underestimate their tenacity. Next, we have the feral little sloth bear. It might look like it's in a constant state of hungover confusion, but this creature is one of the most powerful animals I've included so far. These chaotic tanks will literally go toe-to-toe with other life-cancelling machines, like the sin-stained leopard, or even the striped menace that is the Bengal tiger. And this is what those tigers look like when actually hunting prey. Truly terrifying indeed. So the fact that these smelly-looking creatures actually win these confrontations most of the time is genuinely impressive. But the real danger isn't to other predators, it's to people. You see, sloth bears are actually responsible for more human attacks in India than almost any other wild animal. And unlike most other bears, they don't give warnings. They simply charge, often in broad daylight for reasons no one really understands. Next, we have the most underrated mustelid I can think of, the yellow-throated marten. This Pokemon-looking ass is on some absolute demon time. Not only does it have one of the coolest paint jobs of all the mustelids, but it's also one of the most versatile. It's fast, agile, and completely unhinged in what it considers prey. You see, the yellow-throated marten is a literal war criminal. While most mustelids go for rodents or tortoises, this thing is out here hunting flipping deer, which are just massive compared to themselves. It also absolutely destroys monkeys, which is one of its primary prey items. But it does not stop here. This thing has to literally apply for a new life insurance policy before every meal, as they are also known to kidnap hecking leopard cubs. They basically operate exclusively on what's the worst that could happen logic. Now, the thing that makes them absolute psychopaths in my eyes is the fact that they even go after panda cubs. Now, actually targeting these oversized Oreo marshmallows should not be allowed, even by wild animals. They're just way too cute to suffer such fates. What makes these fur-covered balls of audacity even more menacing is the fact that they rarely hunt alone. They usually hunt in teams of 2 or small groups, as if one wasn't enough. Their coordinating teamwork when taking down larger animals has often been described as tiny mustelid velociraptors, which couldn't be more fitting. So before we wrap this up with the biggest lunatic of them all, there's one more creature I absolutely need to talk about, the Tasmanian devil. To be honest, I completely forgot about it, but I've already promised a bunch of you it'd be here, and it definitely deserves a spot. This gremlin-looking unit is pure chaos. The Tasmanian devil is the largest carnivorous marsupial alive. They scream, growl, spin, and throw hands with anything that moves, including each other. They basically just love to brawl. They also got one of the strongest bite forces, pound for pound. They've even been seen biting through metal to access chicken coops. That's some grade A determination. And just to top it off, they often sleep inside carcasses so they can snack the second they wake up. Pretty grim indeed. And finally, we've got the undisputed freshwater menace, the giant river otter. Now, A lot of you might be under the assumption that otters are these playful, cute little furballs that juggle rocks and float on their backs while holding hands. But think again. These absolute units grow over 6 feet long, probably longer than a lot of you short kings watching right now. And this also makes them the largest otter species in the world, although the sea otter is still slightly heavier. Anyways, these beasts actually live in tight-knit family packs of up to 20 individuals, coordinating every move and patrolling their side of the river like a full-on river mafia. Any creature caught within their territory will rather quickly get a taste of their relentless aggression. But what really sets them apart is what they choose to pick fights with. Giant river otters are known to actively hunt caimans, which are basically slightly smaller crocodiles. And it doesn't stop there. These otters have been seen facing off against jaguars, South America's top land predator. Sometimes it's a standoff, sometimes it's a full-on brawl, and somehow the otters usually walk away on top. Now, these otters really have some aura to them. You see, in parts of South America, these things aren't just animals, they're practically legends. Locals call them river wolves or water jaguars. They are also incredibly big-brained. They've even been observed learning local fishing habits and timing their hunts to swoop in on human fishers. They're basically wet, life-cancelling geniuses with a terrible temper. Next, I have actually sourced some of the most crazy members of our own family. You see, monkeys, apes, and even humans actually belong to one of the most unhinged factions of animals in history, namely primates. So today I have done my due diligence and sourced the 8 absolute most batshit crazy members of this family. And first up, we have the baboons. Baboons live like they got banned from every other part of the animal kingdom, and they walk around with the confidence of something that has never really gotten a proper humbling. They move in massive troops that function like a furry street gang, and when 100 baboons roll up, every living creature in a 1-mile radius immediately rethinks its entire schedule. They have canines longer than many big cats, so even one angry baboon is a problem. An entire troop is pretty much an organic natural disaster. And if that was not enough, baboons also commit long-term sabotage against apex predators. Unlike most animals, they do not always run from lions. They actively steal lion cubs left unattended. They then climb up trees, holding them like stolen merchandise, and either drop them or treat them like a new toy that will last about the same duration as your broken attention span. In baboon logic, this is not evil. It is basic future-proofing. Why deal with a full-grown lion later when you can delete the problem while it is still portable? And other predators are also aware of this. Leopards avoid large troops because one mistake can turn a quick hunt into getting buried under a screaming pile of primates with nothing to lose. Second, we have the orangutans. Now, these apes are literally built like an average Reddit forum basement-dwelling self-certified expert on everything kind of person. But they look calm, gentle and wise until you remember they are basically forest bodybuilders. They have the strength to fold a human like a gosh darn camping chair. These apes spend most of their time alone high in the canopy. When you can snap branches thicker than a human arm, you do not need a squad. Orangutans swing through the trees like gravity is optional. They are so strong that researchers had to redesign their equipment because the apes kept ripping it apart out of curiosity. What really puts them on this list is their attitude toward anything that annoys them. They have been documented throwing objects at predators, dismantling tools, and even learning how to use saws, ropes, and spears just because they felt like it. They are also infamous for escaping captivity with levels of problem-solving that should worry every human on Earth. If an orangutan wants out, locks are just puzzles, and fences are just suggestions. Third on this wacky monkey list, we got the beloved gibbons. These Jack Sparrow-acting idiots are what happens when you take a regular monkey, crank the crackhead slider to max, give them 1,000 milligrams of caffeine, and then give them the confidence of someone who has never faced a single consequence in their life. These primates launch themselves through the canopy like absolute pros, and they move with the kind of reckless speed that suggests they have accepted death as a possible outcome, but refuse to slow down anyway. These shitheads are also known to be absolute menaces to other animals. You could say that they are professionals at horseplay, and it always comes at the cost of other animals. They travel in loud, dramatic groups that treat the entire forest like their personal jungle gym. They will mob predators and chase off animals twice their size and intimidate things that should, by all logic, intimidate them. But logic does not really exist in a gibbon's daily routine. These monkeys act like gravity. Rules and basic self-preservation are all optional suggestions. Gibbons do not just give zero shits. They operate as if having shits to give was never even part of their evolutionary plan. The fourth primate for today is another famous one, the chimpanzee. Now, chimps are what happens when nature gives raw, absolute power to something with the emotional stability of a lit firecracker. These animals are not just strong. They are pound for pound one of the most terrifying things on the planet. A chimp can tear off doors, remodel faces, break bones like breadsticks, and outrun most humans while screaming like a possessed toddler on pre-workout. And the worst part is that chimps are smart enough to know exactly how dangerous they are. Chimps do not fight fair. They never have, and they never will. They roll up in squads and move through the forest like a coordinated hit team. They ambush anything they decide is a problem that day. They patrol their territory like furry warlords. And if something crosses the border, chimps treat it as a personal insult. They are also one of the few animals on Earth known to literally wage organized wars against neighboring chimp clans, complete with raids, ambushes, and territory takeovers that look uncomfortably similar to how early humans behaved. They flank, surround, and overwhelm their targets with the enthusiasm of animals that genuinely enjoy combat as a social bonding activity. Chimp warfare is strategic, coordinated, and absolutely ruthless, and some groups have even been documented carrying out full-blown assassination missions, taking out rival alphas or snatching enemy infants during night raids. Chimps take hierarchy and territory very seriously. It is basically a furry version of Black Ops. Next up, we have the long-tailed macaque. And yes, that is actually how you pronounce it, at least according to this video. Anyways, long-tailed macaques are basically pocket-sized criminals with zero fear and unlimited confidence. They steal food, sunglasses, wallets, phones, and anything else you fail to guard for 3 seconds. And worst of all, they ransom your stuff back to you like tiny monkey loan sharks. Pretty much the definition of doing monkey business. They bully tourists, raid shops, harass bigger animals, and treat entire cities like their personal office. These monkeys do not avoid trouble, they schedule it. Chaos is not an accident to them, it is the entire lifestyle. Sixth on the list, we have the gentle giant that is the gorilla. These giants can snap whole branches, toss smaller animals like props, and end most conflicts by simply standing up straight. A gorilla does not need to prove anything. Its entire existence is literally a warning label. Despite being mostly chill soy boy grass eaters, they carry themselves with the confidence of something that knows it could fold almost any predator if it ever felt like it. And if a gorilla does get annoyed, the forest finds out instantly. They beat their chests, throw logs, tear up vegetation, and make it very clear that whatever just happened will not happen again. But most of the time, these cornballs avoid fighting like it is their mother-in-law. And they are also afraid of rain, so they are not really all that, unless they need to be. Second to last, we have the mandrills, which are basically baboons on some special juice with a rare paint job. They walk around with neon war paint, giant fangs, and the kind of confidence you only get when nothing in the forest wants to test you. They look like mini-bosses, and they behave the part as well. They steal food, chase off other monkeys, and even their soy cousins, the baboons, will get bodied by these terrifying-looking old-world monkeys. They will also scream at anything that looks at them for more than a second. Even flipping leopards approach a full-grown male with caution, because one bad move can end badly for both parties. Mandrills do not avoid chaos. They clock in for it. At last, we have the most idiotic primate on the list: humans. Humans are the only primate fragile enough to get injured by sleeping wrong, yet somehow arrogant enough to think we run the planet. We are dependent on clothes, medicine, internet, emotional support snacks, and at least 5 apps just to function. But we still walk around acting like apex predators. We stress over taxes, emails, Mondays, and whatever medical symptom Google told us is fatal. We conquered the world, but half of us cannot plug in a USB on the first try. We built advanced civilizations. Yet we still fight over parking spots, Wi-Fi passwords, imaginary borders, and which ancient story we should base our entire existence around. Humans do not give a single shit because we are impulsive, unstable, and powered entirely by caffeine and bad decisions. We are the only species that can land on the moon, then trip over our own feet on flat ground. And that is exactly why we made the list. Next, we have yet another batch of odd ones out. But believe me, they are equally cracked out of their mind as any other on this list. First up, we got these funny trash pandas. Just looking at them gives you major big-shot Italian mafia boss energy indeed. Now, raccoons can also be rather cute if treated right, but don't get me wrong. These guys can indeed bring some ungodly crackhead energy straight to your face in the blink of an eye. They can be extremely aggressive, and what makes them even more unsettling is that they are considered a high-risk rabies transmitter to humans. And that's one transaction you really don't want to go through, as it could mean the end of life as you know it. The easiest way to know if a particular raccoon has rabies or not is simply by judging how aggressive it is. Also, if it's coming flying into your face at Mach 5, it's safe to assume it probably has something unhealthy going on. Second, we have cats. And I know cats are supposed to be these cute, domesticated pets, but to be honest, they are probably the most feral entities I've included in all of these videos to date. And, if we talk about animals that don't give a shit, house cats are up there with the heckin' bull-biting honey badgers. They will slap pretty much anything looking at them in a remotely funny way. And I really mean anything. Seals, dogs, hecking alligators, and even black bears several times their size can't handle their terrifying aura. I am convinced all cats are secret stand users with powers we mere humans can't even comprehend. But despite being such intimidating animals, they aren't really the sharpest knives in the toolkit. Because their go-to plan of not showing any fear whatsoever backfires pretty hard when meeting truly wild creatures that only view cats as a food option. But most animals really don't want the smoke, considering the return on investment isn't really that great, as they are so small. It's like stepping into the octagon with Mighty Mouse for a packet of flipping noodles. Not really worth it. Cats are also, statistically, one of the most deadly predators on Earth, beating any other big cats and predators by a long shot. Some nerds even found out that domestic cats have globally contributed to the complete extinction of more than 63 species, including 40 birds, 21 mammals, and 2 reptiles. They are literally extinction-level threats. According to the Smithsonian, outdoor cats annihilate over 4 billion birds and 44 billion mammals every single heckin' year. And that's just in the US. Some of you crazy cat owners might even think it's cute when they bring home dead things to your doorsteps, as you probably view it as a gift of sorts. But in reality, it's not really about affection at all. They do this either to teach you how to hunt, or a little more funnily, they are simply mocking your incompetence when it comes to hunting. Now, that's pretty much all I have on cats for now. Third on the list, we got the common river otters. While the giant river otters usually take all the spotlight when it comes to the otter family, the truth is that pretty much all otters are absolutely cracked out of their goddamn mind. These deceptive little chaos gremlins are one of the most territorial creatures on Earth. They got speed, teeth, claws, and a serious attitude problem. While they are indeed chill, fish goblin animals most of the time, they will not allow the slightest disrespect from anything. Something this dumbass ape learned the hard way. And what's truly terrifying about otters is that they rarely roll solo. They are pretty much almost always involved in some sort of gang-related activities. So if you piss off one of them, you can be assured that it will probably not be a one-on-one. This monkey probably stretched the ban a little too far until it snapped, and now it's getting a thorough swimming lesson by 10 of them. Otters can also be extremely hostile towards humans, and they won't just warn you. They will do whatever it takes to get you off their turf. Next, we got African porcupines. These are one of the only creatures that are actually capable enough to deal with the tough skin of the batshit crazy ball-biting honey badgers. I've also found a surprising amount of images showcasing porcupines and honey badgers just chilling together, which not a lot of animals can say they can do. But that's not all. This porcupine is not only the largest porcupine, weighing in at 66 pounds, but its quills are over 16 inches long, and they're also barbed, which basically means when they puncture something, they go in easily, but they are extremely hard to remove due to the reverse hooks. This makes them feared by most big predators on the savannah. Hyenas, leopards, cheetahs, even the mighty king of the jungle will have a long night sponsored by deep regret after an encounter with one of these spiky bastards. The only way to actually take them down is to get under them, which in itself is an incredible feat only achievable by a few big cats. but the learning curve is extremely steep, so most attempts end up with the cats being covered with spikes, sometimes leading to a slow, painful death. The last creature I want to feature here today is the stinky little delinquent known as the skunk. And if you didn't know, skunks used to actually be members of the infamous mustelid family, housing absolute demons like the wolverine and the ball-biting honey badger. Skunks might not be official members of the mustelid mafia anymore, but they're definitely still in the group chat. And like all mustelids, skunks also possess that unhinged crackhead energy when it comes to dealing out unjust chaos wherever they go. While most animals in nature act according to respect and fear, skunks basically operate on "don't make me do it" energy. Even absolute tanks like black bears skedaddle real quick when they see that black and white striped combo, as they know what it's capable of. And unaware, younger bears that don't really know better will quickly generate a core memory they will never forget. You see, a skunk's ultimate stink weapon is so ridiculously potent that you could smell it from 3 miles away, and the smell can last for weeks. So skunks don't need size or visual intimidation, as they are pretty much out here open carrying a biological military-grade weapon. So far, we've only looked at terrestrial crackheads, like all the creatures from the mustelid family. So now it's time to dive into the water. So here are 8 batshit crazy fish that easily matches the attitude of the ball-biting honey badger. And the first little fishy on my list is the moray eel. This is probably one of the most overpowered predators of the deep. They got so many broken buffs that it's literally unfair to all the other fishes. First off, these mucus goblins have 2 goddamn sets of mouths, one for grabbing prey and another smaller mouth that shoots out and literally starts feeding mid-battle. Pretty much exactly like in those Alien movies, as they actually had a direct influence in their prop designs. And unfortunately, for all its neighbours, the moray eel is a dirty camper which excels in ambushing. These coral trolls will hide among rocks and crevices, waiting for the right moment to lunge out into an all-out aquatic brawl. And when they first get their jaw clamped down on something, they never let go. And just like crocodiles, they too utilize the infamous death roll move, which is absolutely devastating. Curious divers have even lost goddamn fingers to these underwater snakes. They don't care if you're prey, predator, or just a tourist with a GoPro. Their entire philosophy is to attack first and ask absolutely no questions after. So moray eels truly do embody the infamous crackhead energy of the honey badger. Next up, we got Nemo's worst nightmare, namely the barracuda. Now, this is pretty much an underwater torpedo with teeth. They can reach over 25 miles per hour, armed with razor-sharp fangs that can easily slice through bone and are even known to snap metal fishing lines. These predators are also autopilot psychos, as they are extremely instinct-driven and will attack anything that moves without thinking anything through, which is why they have often gone aggro on divers, simply because they saw some shiny jewelry reflecting in the sun. Their hunting strat is also rather sinister. They will simply lurk motionless for hours before suddenly charging at an incredible speed. Prey usually doesn't even realize what's happened before getting swallowed in bite-sized sashimi pieces. And while these giants are usually kind of chill with humans, they do have a rather disturbing portfolio of completely unprovoked attacks, seemingly attacking for no reason at all. Another creature known for complete unprovoked attacks on humans is the testo-fueled bull shark. These things are basically the gym bros of the ocean, short, stocky, and always looking for a fight. They've got one of the strongest bite forces of any shark, more than enough to crunch through bone like it's a breadstick. And unlike great whites, which sometimes do a polite test bite, bull sharks don't play games. When they go in, they commit. What makes them really terrifying is their range. Most sharks are stuck in the ocean, but not these psychos. You see, bull sharks can actually regulate the salt in their blood, which means they'll happily cruise up rivers and even hang out in lakes. There are reports of bull sharks showing up all over the place, including the Mississippi, Amazon, and even in Australian golf course ponds. So if you're standing near murky water, you might be sharing it with a freaky shark. When it comes to attacks, they're absolute menaces too. Bull sharks are behind over 100 confirmed human attacks, and experts believe the real number is much higher. They've been caught going after swimmers, fishermen, and even pets like dogs splashing near shorelines. In some regions, they've even taken livestock drinking at the water's edge. Pretty much anything that moves is fair game. With their aggression, strength, and total lack of patience, bull sharks are probably the closest thing we get to a honey badger with fins. The fourth fish on our list is one you're probably familiar with, the common carp. You might not expect to see this fat, lazy pondfish in a lineup of such disastrous creatures, but just stick with me for a while here. You see, carp are actually one of the most destructive invaders on the planet. Instead of nibbling politely, they plow through riverbeds like heckin' bulldozers, churning mud, ripping out plants, and turning clear water into goddamn chocolate milk. This kills vegetation, smothers eggs, and wrecks entire ecosystems in the matter of months. And they do it everywhere. As they've been introduced worldwide, carp dominate some lakes so badly that they make up over 90% of the biomass. A single female can produce over 1 million eggs a year, so once they're in, you're not getting rid of them. They may not have shark teeth or anything cool like that, but they conquer through sheer numbers and chaos. Carp are elite squatters of the fish world and pretty much impossible to evict. Now, fifth on our list, we got the triggerfish. This is a reef tenant with serious anger issues. With such a beautiful smile, these little guys might not look all that terrifying, but they're infamous for attacking anything that comes near their nest. Divers, turtles, and even sharks. Their bite is designed to crush coral, and they can hold one hell of a grudge if you rub them the wrong way. What really makes them dangerous is their no-fear attitude. Triggerfish will charge head-on, chasing intruders halfway across the reef just to prove a point. It doesn't matter if you're 10 times their size, they'll still square up and teach you a fishy lesson. They're basically the Karen of the reef. Loud, aggressive, and absolutely convinced they own the entire reef. Now, no list of unhinged fish is complete without the piranha. These little razor-mouthed psychos have been terrorizing rivers and Hollywood movies for decades. But unlike the movie swarms that skeletonize cows in seconds, real piranhas are more like opportunistic street thugs. First off, their teeth are basically biological scissors. They can slice through flesh and bone like it's nothing, and when they bite, they take clean chunks out with ease. Individually, they're not so bad. But the second there's blood or splashing in the water, the pack mentality kicks in, and suddenly you've got dozens of them rushing in for a feeding frenzy. And it's not just prey animals that have to worry. Fishermen, swimmers, even pets have all been on the receiving end of a bad day with piranhas. They thrive on chaos. They mob anything that looks vulnerable, and they'll strip a fish down to the bones with terrifying efficiency. They are basically aquatic goons of the Amazon River, small, vicious, and lethal in numbers. The next river monster on the list is the arapaima, a fish so big and prehistoric looking, it feels like it missed the memo that dinosaurs went extinct. These guys can grow over 10 feet long and weigh more than 400 pounds, making them one of the largest freshwater fish on the planet. But it's not just their size that makes them terrifying. Arapaimas breathe air like us, so every 15 minutes they have to surface, which has led to countless jump scares for fishermen, when basically a giant armored missile suddenly explodes out of the river. Even scarier, when threatened, arapaimas can smash into boats with knockout force, literally hitting hard enough to break bones or knock people unconscious, which has actually happened several times before. So locals treat them with respect, and for good reason. This monstrosity is basically a living fossil with the personality of a battering ram, and it doesn't care who gets in its way. Last, but definitely not least, we've got the Goliath grouper. A fish so ridiculously massive, it seems like God forgot to add a growth limiter to them. These underwater giants can hit 800 pounds and stretch over 8 feet long. Now, most fish that size might just cruise around minding their business. Not the Goliath. These guys will straight up stalk divers, hover inches away, and then suddenly inhale your catch like a living vacuum cleaner. Their mouths are so big that entire sharks and stingrays have been documented disappearing down the hatch. What makes them extra unnerving is how bold they are. Fishermen regularly lose hooked fish to a Goliath swooping in and swallowing the whole thing like it was an appetizer. Divers have even been body checked by them out of nowhere. The Goliath grouper doesn't chase you. It just waits, stares, and then swallows your lunch, your fish, or possibly you if you fit. It's the ocean's heavyweight thug, and it doesn't give a single damn what you are, as long as you're tasty. Up next, we are entering a whole new environment, the sky. Birds do some truly unholy shit in their spare time, and somehow they always get away with it. So today, I've picked 8 of the most batshit crazy birds you'll ever hear about. First up, we've got the shrike. This bird might look like a small little soy boy, but it's got some real big serial killer vibes going on. This tiny little shit is also known as the butcher bird, and with good reason. You see, the shrike literally impales its victims on heckin' spiky thorns, barbed wire, or pretty much anything pointy it can find. Bugs, lizards, mice, even other birds are all potential victims. Its motto is pretty much, if it fits, it sticks. But here's the part that makes this 10 times worse. This little psychopath doesn't just kill to eat. Sometimes it kills and just leaves the body hanging, almost like a warning, like it's decorating a little murder Christmas tree. This thing looks like a sparrow, but acts like it's a big fan of a certain person with big glasses. Next up, we got the pelican, which is literally nature's garbage disposal. Pelicans are basically living proof that just because you can fit something in your mouth doesn't mean you should. These birds are built to scoop up rather large fish, sure, but that hasn't stopped them from going full Scooby-Doo mode on pretty much anything. There's footage of pelicans swallowing pigeons whole, trying to eat rats, seagulls, cats, humans, even hecking giraffes for crying out loud. This dude is trying his best to eat this tiny little turtle named Carl. Luckily for the turtle, it seems to have some trouble doing so. They've also been seen trying their luck with happy cappies, which feels illegal indeed. These pelicans really don't give a shit. Even found a picture of one trying to eat a flipping bear cub. They really have no limits at all. They'll just launch at anything vaguely edible and hope for the best. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they sit there with a mouthful of suffocating regret, slowly but surely crossing to the other side. The third bird on our list is the Canadian goose. Now, the Canadian goose isn't just aggressive, it's literally possessed by some unholy bird demon. These birds wake up and choose violence every single day. They'll hiss, chase, and straight up throw wings at anything that enters their personal space, which is basically the entire gosh darn planet. Dogs, people, cars, nothing's off limits. They don't even give a shit about traffic laws. And what makes it worse is that they're everywhere. Parks, golf courses, airport runways. You're never truly safe from them, and they travel in angry little packs like airborne honey badgers. Now, if you've enjoyed the video so far, then please do consider leaving a like on the video, as it truly does help me stay on the good side of the YouTube algorithm gods. Anyways, next up, we got the crow. Crows are basically tiny flying geniuses with a serious grudge. Not only do these birds have the reasoning skills of a 7-year-old, but they can even understand water displacement and basic physics. They use tools, solve puzzles, recognize human faces, and most terrifying of all, they remember. And I really do mean remember. Mess with a crow once, and congratulations, you've just made an enemy for life. They've been known to hold grudges for years, and they'll even teach other crow friends to hate you too. We even have actual studies that show crows passing down revenge through generations. They're pretty much able to hold generational beefs going for years. They've also been seen straight up holding funerals when one of their own dies, like full-on mourning sessions. These birds are emotionally intelligent and vengeful. A pretty scary combo for a bird. They've also been caught instigating fights with cats and even harassing dogs for absolutely no reason other than for fun. Next up, we got the emu. This bird quite literally went to war with the Australian government and somehow even won. This war even has a name, the Great Emu War. This all started back in 1932, when a bunch of emus started invading farmlands in Western Australia. So, naturally, the government responded the only way us hairless monkeys know how, with fricking machine guns. They sent actual soldiers with literal Lewis guns to fight hecking birds. But it gets even more ridiculous. You see, what was scheduled to be an easy mission for these trained soldiers turned out to be historic. These birds outran and dodged the bullets, avoided ambushes, even seemed to regroup like feathery tacticians. The army wasted thousands of rounds and barely made a dent in their population. At one point, they said, screw it, and mounted the guns on flipping trucks. But the emus just outmaneuvered those too. It was pretty much a complete disaster. The birds walked away with minimal casualties, and the humans were left with absolute embarrassment. The emus basically declared war, took a W, and dipped. Pretty legendary, if you ask me. On the 6th spot on our list, we've got the cassowary. This is basically a prehistoric murder turkey with talons that can easily disembowel you. It's actually officially one of the most dangerous birds on Earth. This bird is pretty much straight out of Jurassic Park, but with more feathers and with even worse containment protocols. Cassowaries can run over 30 miles per hour, jump over 6.5 feet in the air, and their kick It's like getting roundhoused by Chuck Norris himself. This kick is literally one of the main reasons they are considered one of the most dangerous birds in the world. It's strong enough to break bones and cause fatal injuries in humans. And these birds don't bluff either. They've sent several people to the hospital just for getting a little too close. So if you ever see a cassowary in the wild, walk away slowly. And whatever you do, don't go up to it and pet it. It won't like that at all. Second to last, we got the seagulls. Now, if you live in a big city near the ocean, I'm sure you only have nice things to say about these loud airborne rats. I'm obviously just deploying some sarcasm here, because I don't think you'll find a more universally hated bird than the seagull. These guys are completely shameless when it comes to pretty much anything. They'll steal your food straight off the plate, like you specifically bought it for them. They will even just walk into heckin' stores, grab some snacks and dip without paying. A true menace indeed. They simply don't care. They are just out here living their best lives. And to be fair, it's us humans that have taken up their habitat and made it into something unnatural. So as annoying as they are, a lot of their chaos is really just them adapting to the mess we've made. We've taken their habitats and replaced them with cities and dumpsters, and now we act shocked when they turn into feathered criminals. Honestly, they're just playing the game better than us. So we certainly do deserve a lot of the disrespect thrown our way. They are also incredibly street smart. They've been seen dropping shellfish onto roads so cars can crack them open. They've pretty much weaponized our cars. And finally, we got the golden eagle. This apex predator of the skies isn't just a bird. It's a full-blown doomsday plane with feathers. They've got a wingspan of over 7 feet wide. They've been recorded diving at speeds over 150 miles per hour. And when they hit their prey, they hit it like a flipping sledgehammer with knives taped to it, instantly ending any bird. But what truly makes golden eagles so insanely formidable is that they don't really care how big their prey is. They've been documented taking down foxes, small dogs. They've even been seen going for wolves and bear cubs. The confidence is pretty insane, to say the least. But most noteworthy, in my opinion, is how they deal with goats. They literally grab them by the horns and yeet them straight off mountainsides. These birds pretty much figured out that gravity is a free weapon and started throwing animals off cliffs. This is the kind of bird that doesn't just survive the wild, it rules it. If birds had a final boss, it would be the golden eagle. Now, we are yet again taking a dive into the ocean, but not for fish. This time, it's for 5 crazy marine mammals that might seem cute and innocent at first glance, but they're all complete and utter batshit crazy psychopaths. First up, we have the dolphin. Now, these intelligent, playful, and graceful sea angels might look cute and innocent, and most people probably think they are. But behind that permanent, rather disturbing grin is pure, unholy madness. Bottlenose dolphins have been observed straight up beating the shit out of porpoises, and not for food. Literally just for sport. They'll beat them, ram them at high speeds, and toss their bodies around like flipping rag dolls, then swim off like nothing happened. Now let's talk mating. Now here I have to be rather careful as YouTube... Anyways, male dolphins will form pretty large gangs, and when they find a female, well, you can probably guess the rest. And if you can't, then you're probably not old enough to understand it anyway. Even more disturbing is that these gang meetings can sometimes last for weeks. Dolphins are also known to be complete substance abusers. You see, at some point in time, the dolphins learned that if they gently chew on blowfish, it will release just enough neurotoxin to go on a trip to wherever they want. And they'll even pass around this puffer like it's a gosh darn joint.
Nice.
What I personally find the most disturbing about all of this is the fact that these dolphins are so incredibly intelligent that they pretty much have to know just a little bit how bad some of these actions are. But that's just some speculation on my side. Next, we have the orcas. You know how they call them killer whales? Well, that's not a nickname. It's literally their job title. Orcas are apex predators with 0 natural enemies and 0 regard for anything with a pulse. They've got brains, brawn, and a personal vendetta against peace. These guys aren't just strong, they're incredibly smart and strategic. Great white sharks are probably one of the most feared animals in the sea. But orcas treat them like hecking toys. They've even figured out that if you flip a shark upside down, it enters a tonic immobility trance. They also mess with seals, not just to kill, but to entertain themselves. They'll knock seals off ice floes, play catch with them, and yeet them into the heckin' stratosphere. Although this behavior does have some validity to it, as it's thought to show the young ones how it's done, but even lone Sigma orcas do it, which means they might just be out here recreationally punting seals for absolutely no reason at all. No humans have ever been actually attacked by these maniacs, almost like they've read history and decided to leave us revengeful land apes alone. But lately, they've actually broken the unspoken human-whale treaty and started beef with gosh darn boats. And this is not random attacks. It's definitely on purpose. A pod near Spain figured out how to disable rudders by ramming them repeatedly. And what's even more scary is that other pods started copying them. So now we've pretty much got several coordinated orca gangs out there, sinking yachts like it's a hecking turf war. So these orcas don't just not give a they know exactly what they're doing. And I'm positive they're enjoying every second of it. But what these crackheads do to whales is on another level of cruelty. You see, just like with the sharks, where they only target the liver, it's not just because it's the most nutritious part of their body, it's also because it's the softest. And for an orca, without any dental insurance whatsoever, it is crucial to avoid wearing down their teeth by eating hard, rough food items. So with large whales, they'll tire them out, following them for hours and ramming into them like the whale owes them money. Then eventually, they'll literally dive into the whale's mouth to rip out and eat the tongue. And that's all they take. They'll leave the rest of the whale behind like they just raided the fridge for a gosh darn midnight snack. No cleanup, no guilt, just pure gluttony. Next, we got every penguin's worst nightmare, namely the leopard seal. This thing is pretty much a meat blender with eyes and acts like a precision-built penguin assassin. These things are fast, cold, and brutal. And if you're a penguin, this is your final boss. They stalk, waiting at ice edges in perfect silence, then launching out like a torpedo when any penguin is caught lacking. And when they catch something, it gets real messy. They thrash their food side to side in the water to tear it apart. Their jaws are built for ripping, not nibbling. Some leopard seals have even been observed playing with live prey, but it's not really for amusement. It's likely hunting practice, or just the grim reality of taking apart something tough when you don't have arms or claws. Now, unlike the first two, this aquatic bear actually has human blood on its flippers. You see, in 2003, a leopard seal unalived a marine biologist named Kirsty Brown during a dive in Antarctica. It grabbed her by the leg, dragged her underwater, and held her there until her oxygen supply ran out. But it's a reminder that these things aren't just dangerous to penguins, they're just dangerous, period. Next, we got the sea otter, which is arguably the most deceptive little in the entire animal kingdom. They got pretty much the whole human species fooled. They float around holding hands, looking all cute and fuzzy while cracking clams on their blasted tummies. But behind those large marble eyes is the soul of a demonic, furry little war criminal. These guys might not be as dangerous as the others mentioned so far, but they are by far the most perverse. Their acts are so heinous, I can barely talk about it on... Not only do they accidentally unalive their partner during overly enthusiastic mating attempts, but the soy boy otters, with no game at all, have been caught in 4K targeting hecking baby seals, and not for friendship, but for reasons I'm legally not allowed to describe in detail. Let's just say, in one case, the otter was observed staying with the expired baby seal's body for multiple days, like some sort of unholy, twisted, aquatic, necro-romantic situation. Anyways, when they're not doing serious crimes against biology, they're still cute, you know, if we ignore all that humongously sinister luggage. Lastly, we got the sperm whale. These deep-sea titans actually have the largest brain of any creature to ever exist, and they use it for one thing: all-out warfare in the darkest abyss. They dive over 6,000 feet into pitch-black ocean trenches where not even light reaches. And they pretty much only do it to throw hands with giant Squidwards, the size of school buses. No light, no backup, just pure underwater kaiju-level combat. And when they come back up, they're often covered in battle scars and suction cups, like they just fought Cthulhu and won. They even have aerial damage effects, as their sonar clicks are so loud, they can vibrate a diver's lungs and mess with your insides from dozens of meters away. Sperm whales are also massive. They weigh more than 50 tons and reach lengths of over 50 feet, with heads that make up a third of their body, and their teeth over 20 centimeters long, each one a biological dagger. Even orcas, the ocean's top bullies, tend to back off when they see a full-grown sperm whale roll up. They hunt in pods, they click like underwater snipers, and they've got scars from deep-sea brawls to prove it. If the ocean had a mafia, these guys would be the silent clicking enforcers, even sleeping. They look tremendously menacing. These deep-sea juggernauts sleep vertically, motionless in the water like eerie floating pillars. Now, if you have actually made it this far into the video, then I want some hecking proof. So go down into the comments, write down your absolute favorite animal of all time, and give me 3 things that make it your favorite. Anyways, this next segment will be the absolute last batch of animals I have for you here today. It is about lizards. As you've seen in my previous videos, both birds, mustelids, fish, seals, whales, pretty much every domain in the animal kingdom have some absolute batshit crazy demons among them. But today, we shall take a look into the lizard realm. So here are 8 lizards absolutely cracked out of their minds. First up, we got the frilled lizard. The frilled lizard looks like evolution tried to turn a normal reptile into something that needs its own theme music when entering your vicinity. This reptile spends most of its time climbing trees, looking calm and polite, until it decides to go full-on dinosaur mode on random nearby spectators. When threatened, it spreads that massive neck frill, hisses, and charges forward like it's possessed by the spirit of a T-Rex. And it's not just for show. These things will run straight at you, mouth open, claws ready, regardless of how much bigger you are. They have basically maxed out their intimidation skill while possessing zero hesitation whatsoever. And that neck frill isn't just a fashion statement either. It's made of skin supported by long cartilage spines. And when expanded, it makes the lizard look 2 to 3 times its actual size. And if it looks familiar, that's because it inspired the Dilophosaurus scene in Jurassic Park, the one that spits venom and ruins that fat nerd's night. Spielberg's team basically took a massive Jurassic predator and said, cool, but what if it acted like an Australian lizard on crack? While the movie Dino might not be authentic, the attitude 100% is frilled lizard energy. So yeah, this isn't a calm reptile. It's a land-dwelling jump scare that will pick a fight with anyone just for breathing too loudly. Next up, we got the suspicious-looking chameleon. The chameleon is basically nature's definition of I'll move when I feel like it. Found mostly in Africa and Madagascar, these lizards live their lives in slow motion, looking like they're buffering in real time. But make no mistake, that calm pace hides some serious hardware. For some reason, they also look rather judgmental all the time. They basically have a premium resting face. Their eyes can move independently, meaning they can watch 2 different things at once, like one eye on lunch and the other on danger. And when they finally decide to attack, it's instant regret for whatever's in front of them. Their tongue shoots out at up to 13 miles per hour. That's about 0.07 seconds from start to finish. Their tongue also stretches longer than their own body, and it hits with surgical accuracy. While most lizards run from conflict, the chameleon just changes color to match its mood and stares you down instead. And if something gets too close, they puff up, change colors, and hiss like a broken sprinkler. Third on my list, we have the Gila monster. The Gila monster might look like a lizard built out of leftover Lego pieces, but on this list, it's actually one of the few reptiles you really don't want to mess with. It can be found in the deserts of the southwestern US and northern Mexico. Even though it may be a rather slow, chunky reptile that spends about 90% of its life underground, its bite will prove to be extremely painful. It's basically a venomous introvert. When it does come out, though, it's not looking for trouble. But if trouble finds it, the Gila monster is not one to back down. Although venomous, it doesn't deliver a clean bite like snakes do. It actually chews it in. Once it bites, it locks on and grinds its teeth until the venom seeps into the wound. Pretty much a venomous jigsaw. The only way to make it let go is to wait until it gets bored, and that could take a while, as it's used to staring at a dirt wall all day long. Despite moving slower than your mum, the Gila monster doesn't care. Its venom can cause intense pain, nausea, and a sudden drop in blood pressure. Coyotes, dogs, and even humans have learned this the hard way. The next lizard on the list is a heavy hitter, namely the Komodo dragon. Native to just a few Indonesian islands, this is not only the largest venomous reptile on Earth, but it's also the largest lizard, period. And the closest thing we have to a real-life dinosaur. If lizards had a final boss, I'd imagine it as the Komodo dragon. They grow over 10 feet long, weigh around 150 pounds, and move like they own the place. And they basically do, as they don't have any natural predators at all. Well, other than themselves, as they are known to actually eat each other on a frequent basis. Basically, if you're smaller, you could be a late-night snack for a larger individual. And a Komodo doesn't need to roar or chase. It just walks straight at you. Its mouth is lined with serrated teeth and venom glands that release hemotoxins, which stop blood from clotting, drop blood pressure, and send prey into shock. In other words, one bite is basically a painful, slow death sentence. They can take down massive prey like bulls, but they are best known for simply swallowing things whole, like a starved city seagull. Their hunting strategy is terrifyingly patient. A Komodo will bite once, then follow the victim for hours, waiting for the venom to do the work, and they can smell blood from almost 10 kilometers away. So once bitten, you can't run, nor can you hide. And when you finally collapse, the dragon simply strolls over and casually starts eating you alive. Nothing about this animal cares about boundaries, fear, or mercy. The Komodo dragon is proof that dinosaurs never really left. They just got a little smaller. The fifth lizard for today is the horned lizard. It looks like something out of a post-apocalyptic video game, and it's got one of the weirdest defense systems in the animal kingdom. When threatened, it doesn't just puff up, charge, or run away. It literally shoots blood out of its heckin' eye sockets. It squirts from tiny veins near its eyes, straight into the face of predators like coyotes, confusing them long enough for the lizard to make a break for it. Now, for most creatures, it's not really much of a threat, but for ants, it's literally an extinction-level event. It's a calamity-scale boss calmly eating them one by one with no remorse whatsoever. They also flatten themselves against the ground, blending perfectly with sand and rocks. Basically, the reptile version of I'm invisible if I don't move. Small, spiky, and surprisingly hardcore, the horned lizard doesn't rely on speed or size. It just makes anything that tries to eat it regret ever trying a bite. Next, we have the basilisk. The basilisk lizard is proof that evolution occasionally hits the show-off button. This lizard is literally called the Jesus Christ lizard, and it has earned this nickname not because it's extremely righteous, but because it can literally run on water. When threatened, it doesn't freeze or hide. It just sprints like a goddamn cartoon character across water at up to 12 miles per hour. It can do this by using its big back feet to slap the surface fast enough to stay afloat. Most animals would fall straight through, but the basilisk makes it look easy. And if it were to fail, it can also dive down and stay underwater for up to half an hour, waiting for the danger to pass. Second to last, we got the tegu. The tegu is basically a reptile tank with an anger problem. Native to South America, this lizard can grow over 4 feet long and weighs more than some dogs, and it pretty much acts like it knows it. Tegus are ridiculously smart for reptiles. They can recognize owners, solve puzzles, and even remember routines. But that brain power comes with an ego. Corner one, and it'll hiss, puff up, and whip its tail hard enough to bruise your shins badly. They also have powerful jaws that can crush fruit, eggs, or fingers without much distinction. In some parts of the world, people keep them as pets, which is brave, because a pissed-off tegu will happily tear through gloves, cages, and whatever's unlucky enough to be nearby. At last, we have the green iguana. This is what happens when a lizard decides it's too cool to care. These reptiles spend most of their lives lounging in trees, sunbathing. They look calm, but mess with one, and you'll see the attitude kick in. Like the tegu, green iguanas can whip their tails hard enough to not just bruise, but actually cut skin, and they'll bite or claw if you push your luck. Even predators like hawks and snakes often back off after pissing one of these guys off. But sometimes, when things get too serious, they simply dive out of trees, sometimes from 40 feet up. So sometimes it doesn't just run from danger, it just leaves the conversation entirely. Anyways, that's all I got for today. If you enjoyed it, I'm sure you'll enjoy some of the others on screen as well, and hopefully, I'll see you Wednesday.